Poor girl struggles with the dress, and a millionaire CEO falls madly in love. Before going into the video, please leave us a like and a subscribe so we have the motivation to make the next videos. Sofia Ramirez was running for her life, or at least that's what it looked like to every confused pedestrian who saw her darting through the streets like an action movie heroine. The reality? She was late, very late. Her dream job interview at Carter Enterprises, one of the biggest companies in the city, was happening in exactly 4 minutes, and she was still 3 blocks away. Panic pulsed through her veins as she pushed forward, dodging businessmen in crisp suits and tourists taking selfies. If only running was her talent. But no, she was more of a professional disaster in motion. Her loose ballet flat smacked the pavement with every step, making an embarrassing flap, flap, flap noise like a poorly trained duck. Her purse strap had broken 5 minutes ago, and now she was clutching the bag under her arm, trying to keep her belongings from spilling onto the sidewalk. Her phone buzzed, probably another desperate text from her best friend Ava, who had set up this interview for her. But Sofia couldn't look at it now. She was too busy trying not to trip over her own feet. Then she saw it. The towering glass skyscraper of Carter Enterprises loomed ahead like a beacon of hope. She still had time. She could make it. Just a few more steps. Wait, something was wrong. Sofia caught a glimpse of her reflection in the massive glass windows at the entrance, and her soul left her body. No, 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 no. Her dress was backward, not just a little off, completely, painfully, inside out backward. The zipper that should have been at the back, front and center, like some tragic fashion statement. The giant clothing tag, so big it could double as a restaurant receipt, was sticking to her chest like an unwanted name badge. And the neckline? Well, it wasn't on her shoulders where it was supposed to be, but hanging halfway down her back, exposing way more than she was comfortable with. For a second, Sofia stopped breathing. How? In her rush to get dressed, she must have thrown it on without thinking. And now, here she was, standing in front of one of the most prestigious corporate buildings in the city, looking like she had lost a battle with a washing machine. Panic clawed at her chest. She spun in frantic circles, trying to see her back in the reflection, almost smacking into a pedestrian. "Oh my, sorry," she gasped, nearly toppling over. A businessman gave her a confused look before hurrying away. Sofia tugged at the hem of her dress, twisted the straps, yanked at the tag, even tried to bite it off with her teeth, all while muttering in pure distress, "I knew I should have worn jeans. Who invented these giant tags? They should be arrested. Oh my God, I am a walking disaster." What she didn't know was that she had an audience. On the top floor of Carter Enterprises, Logan Carter, Val Carter, the billionaire CEO known for being cold, ruthless, and completely unshakable, was walking through the office hallway. He was seconds away from another painfully boring meeting when he glanced out the window. And what he saw made him stop in his tracks. There on the sidewalk, a girl was waging war against her own dress. She was twisting, tugging, jumping, biting at something on her chest, her movements so dramatic and intense that it looked less like a simple wardrobe malfunction and more like a battle for survival. And then it happened. For the first time in years, maybe even a decade, Logan Carter laughed. Not a polite chuckle, not a small smirk, a real, deep, full-bodied laugh that echoed through the hallways. Employees stopped what they were doing. Assistants froze mid-step. People in the break room peeked around corners in shock. Was their boss laughing? Logan's right-hand man, Eric, rushed into the office, panic written all over his face. "Sir, are you okay?" Still clutching his stomach, Logan pointed at the window, tears forming in his eyes. Look at this insanity," he gasped between laughs. She's fighting her own dress like it's an angry octopus." Eric hesitated, then walked over to see what had caused his notoriously emotionless boss to crack. When he spotted Sofia desperately trying to fix her outfit, he nodded. "I think she's just adjusting her dress, sir." "That is not adjusted in an outfit," Logan grinned, shaking his head. "That is an epic battle for fashion survival." For a moment, he just stood there watching her. Something about the chaotic energy of that girl, the way she was completely unfiltered, completely herself, had struck something in him. something he hadn't felt in years. Logan Carter, the untouchable CEO, had just been utterly captivated, not by some perfectly polished businesswoman, but by a complete and beautiful disaster in motion. He turned to Eric, still smirking. "Cancel my first meeting," he said, grabbing his jacket. Eric blinked. "Why?" "Because I need to see this girl up close." Who else is rooting for Sophia? Like this video and comment below. Subscribe to the channel for more unforgettable stories. Sophia had never felt more doomed in her entire life. As she stood outside the glass doors of Carter Enterprises, trying to pull herself together, her pulse hammered so loudly in her ears that she could barely hear the receptionist calling her name. She had somehow made it to the interview, barely, after sprinting through traffic, fighting her own dress, and nearly knocking over a security guard. But now, as she took one last deep breath and stepped inside, reality crashed over her like a tidal wave. This place was intimidating. The air smelled like expensive leather and freshly brewed coffee. The people in the lobby looked like they had been pulled straight out of a luxury magazine. Polished, professional, perfect. And then there was Sophia, the girl with a backward dress, a torn ballet flat, and a purse held together by sheer willpower. I look like I just survived a tornado, she thought, fighting the urge to turn around and run. But she couldn't. This was her shot, and she wasn't going to blow it. She squared her shoulders and forced her legs to move. The 25th floor, that's where her fate awaited her. The elevator ride felt like an eternity. The doors slid open with an ominous chime, and before she could take a single step, bam! Sophia slammed directly into someone, a very tall, very expensive-smelling someone. Before she even had time to process what had just happened, a river of hot coffee poured down the front of a crisp white dress shirt. She gasped in horror, her eyes trailing up to the man she had just destroyed. Oh, no, it was him, Logan Carter, the CEO. The same man who had watched her battle with her dress from his office window. The same man whose laugh had shocked the entire company. The same man who was now standing in front of her, soaked in coffee, staring at her like she had just fallen from the sky. "Oh my God," Sophia blurted, already reaching into her purse in blind panic. I'll pay for it. Here." She shoved a crumpled $20 bill at him. Logan blinked. 20? His voice was dangerously calm. "You think that covers the situation?" Sophia looked at the soaked fabric. She looked at his face. She looked at the 20 in her hand. Then she gulped. "Okay, how about 5 installments and some free sass?" Silence. For one horrifying second, she thought she had just signed her own death sentence. But then something completely unexpected happened. Logan laughed. Laughed. The same deep, unbelievably rare laughter that had stunned the entire top floor earlier that morning. Sophia's soul re-entered her body. "Are you always this much of a disaster?" he asked, still chuckling as he shook his head. "Only on important days," she muttered, blushing furiously. Logan smirked and gestured toward a glass-walled room down the hall. "Good luck in there, Sophia." Sophia froze. "Wait, how do you know my name?" she asked, eyes narrowing. Logan just raised an eyebrow and walked away, his coffee-soaked shirt clinging to his frame like evidence of her crimes. Sophia took a deep breath. "Okay, no more disasters. I've got this." She pushed through the door into the most terrifying interview of her life. The interview from hell. The 3 interviewers stared her down like a pack of wolves circling their prey. A woman with a painfully tight bun pursed her lips. "You may begin by introducing yourself." Sophia smiled way too brightly. "Absolutely. I'm Sophia Ramirez, and—" Bzzz. Her phone exploded with noise, not just any noise. The chaotic remix of Happy Birthday mixed with an ambulance siren, a masterpiece made by Ava. Sophia panicked and pressed every button at once, somehow accidentally answering the call instead of silencing it. Through the speaker, Ava's voice boomed through the room. "Girl, did you spill anything? Did you kill anyone? Blink twice if you're about to get arrested." Sophia slammed the phone onto the table like it was possessed. The interviewers just stared. She let out a nervous laugh. That was my emergency alert system." Dead silence. A gray-haired man took off his glasses. "Miss Ramirez, this is a serious company." Sophia sat up straighter. I know, and that's why I'm serious about this job. She placed her hands on the table, determined. I may not be perfect, but I'm quick on my feet, I learn fast, and I know how to handle any situation. At that exact moment, a strong breeze from the open window sent her resume flying into the air vent. Gone forever. Sophia's soul left her body again. And yet, when the door suddenly opened and Logan Carter himself stepped inside, everything changed. The interview is over, he announced. Sophia's heart sank. She stood up. I understand, but Logan was smirking. Because she's already hired. The room fell into stunned silence. Even Sophia forgot how to breathe. Sir, this candidate, the tight-bunned woman began. This candidate, Logan interrupted, is exactly what this company needs. Creativity, resilience, and the rare ability to make any situation unforgettable. Sophia was still frozen in shock. So, does this mean, she started? Welcome to Carter Enterprises, Logan said with a grin. Sophia, still processing, nodded weakly. Right, cool. See you Monday, boss. And just like that, the most disastrous interview in history became the greatest plot twist of Sophia's life. She had no idea what awaited her. But one thing was for sure, her new boss had just signed up for a hurricane. If there was an award for the most disastrous first day on the job, Sophia Ramirez would have won by a landslide. She had barely made it through the doors of Carter Enterprises, still in disbelief that she had actually been hired after that train wreck of an interview. A part of her was convinced she was in some kind of prank reality show, and at any moment cameras would pop out and a host would scream, "Congratulations, you've won the award for world's most unprepared employee." But no, it was real. She had a desk, a company email, an official ID badge that made her look like she had just survived a hurricane and, most importantly, a boss. A boss who happened to be Logan Carter, the billionaire CEO who never smiled until she showed up. And if she thought getting hired had been the challenge of a lifetime, nothing could have prepared her for what came next. Surviving her first week, day one, the email catastrophe. Sophia was determined to make a good impression. She sat at her desk, straightened her posture, and cracked her knuckles. Time to prove to everyone, especially Mr. Coffee Stain CEO, that she was more than just a walking disaster. Her first task, send an email to the entire executive team about an upcoming meeting. Easy, simple, nothing could go wrong. She typed it out carefully, double-checked for typos, and hit send. And then her blood turned to ice, because instead of attaching the official board meeting agenda, Sophia had accidentally attached a meme from her personal files. A meme of a screaming cat in a business suit, yelling, "Let's get this bread," to the entire executive team. Her soul left her body. For 10 agonizing seconds, she sat there completely paralyzed. Then, with the speed of a panicked squirrel, she yanked her keyboard closer, scrambling to unsend the email. Too late. A response dinged in her inbox. From Logan Carter himself, her hands shook as she clicked on the message. Logan Carter, I assume this is your way of boosting company morale. Unorthodox but amusing. Just don't send memes to investors. Sophia exhaled so hard she nearly passed out. She had survived. For now. Day two. The coffee disaster, again. Determined to redeem herself, Sophia decided to make Logan's morning coffee. After all, she owed him one non-disastrous interaction. She confidently approached the office espresso machine. Simple enough, just coffee, milk, and a little sugar. Except the machine had approximately 6,000 buttons, and none of them said coffee. Sophia, relying purely on instinct, which had never been her strength, pressed a random button. What happened next could only be described as a coffee crime scene. The machine exploded. Scalding hot coffee shot out like a fire hose, drenching Sophia from head to toe. She screamed, stumbled backward, and knocked over an entire stack of company files. Papers flew into the air like she was in a slow-motion action movie. And just when she thought things couldn't get worse, a voice cleared from behind her. Logan, standing there watching the chaos unfold like he had just walked into a battlefield. Sophia, soaked in coffee, stared at him. He stared back. I tried to make you coffee, she admitted weakly. There was a long silence. Then, unbelievably, Logan laughed. Again. Day 3, the fire alarm incident. On her third day, Sophia was given one responsibility, one tiny, simple responsibility. Print a contract. That was it. So she walked confidently to the office printer slash copier scanner, all-powerful corporate machine of doom. She inserted the paper, pressed the button, and then smoke. Actual smoke. Sophia gasped, pressing more buttons in blind panic, hoping to fix whatever she had just done. Instead, the fire alarm blared. The entire building was evacuated. Employees rushed out in confusion. The fire department arrived, and Sophia? Sophia just stood there, clutching the stupid contract, looking like she had just declared war on office technology. When Logan finally found her in the parking lot, he crossed his arms. Please tell me you didn't set the building on fire. She looked at the contract still in her hands. At least I got it printed, she tried. Logan shook his head, but instead of firing her on the spot, he just let out a long breath and grinned. Day 4, the international called disaster. Sophia was feeling extra confident when she was asked to answer a call from an important overseas client. She picked up the phone. Executive office? Sophia speaking? A thick Japanese accent responded. Hello, I would like to discuss our partnership. Sophia panicked. For reasons she still couldn't understand, instead of responding professionally, she accidentally used Spanish. Sí, señor, un momento. Silence. Then the client politely said, wrong language. Sophia nearly threw herself out the window. Day 5, the unbelievable revelation. By the end of the first week, the office had fully embraced the reality of Sophia. Employees placed bets on how long it would take before she caused another incident. Logan had officially switched to drinking tea for safety reasons. But more importantly, Sophia realized something shocking. She wasn't getting fired. No matter how many disasters she caused, Logan never got mad. If anything, he seemed entertained. And one afternoon, when she tripped and crashed into his office for the third time that week, Logan looked at her and simply said, you know, life was a lot more boring before you got here. Sophia froze. Was that a compliment? She didn't know. But one thing was clear. She wasn't just another assistant. She was Sophia Ramirez, the Hurricane of Carter Enterprises. And she was just getting started. Sophia should have known it was a trap the second Logan Carter smirked at her across his desk. You think I can't be sophisticated? She had challenged, arms crossed, still fuming after accidentally spilling soup on a client's $2,000 designer suit at a business lunch. Logan had merely raised an eyebrow, his expression unreadable. Not without a miracle. That's when the bet was made. Sophia had 30 days to transform from the corporate hurricane into a refined, polished, high-class lady, the kind who could attend fancy galas, hold intelligent conversations without accidentally insulting a foreign investor, and most importantly, not trip over her own feet while walking into a room. If she failed, she owed Logan a week's worth of breakfast, personally delivered, complete with handwritten love notes for his amusement. If she succeeded, Logan would buy her breakfast every day for a week, pancakes, extra syrup, and all the coffee she could drink. It was supposed to be a lighthearted challenge, but the second Logan called in Penelope von Schneider, the city's most brutal, no-nonsense etiquette coach, Sophia realized she was in deep trouble. Day 1, posture torture. The first session took place in the company's executive boardroom, where Penelope von Schneider stood like a military general in her perfectly tailored gray suit. Sophia entered wearing sneakers, instantly earning a withering glare. A lady does not slouch, waddle, or stomp into a room like an overgrown toddler, Penelope announced. Sophia blinked. Well, good thing I'm not a toddler. Penelope's eyes narrowed up. Logan, sitting comfortably on a nearby chair, smirked. Sophia was given by a hardcover book and told to balance it on her head while walking across the room. Easy, right? Wrong. By step 3, the book slid off, smacking her directly into the forehead. By step 6, she tripped over her own shoe, crashed into a chair, and knocked a $3,000 vase off the table. By step 10, Penelope sighed so loudly it could have been heard from space. Logan, dying of laughter. You, Penelope said, rubbing her temples, are my most difficult case. Day 5, the silverware showdown. Tell me, Penelope asked at their next lesson, seated at an absurdly formal dining setup, what is the correct fork to use for salad? Sophia eyed the 5 different forks in front of her. Uh, the pointy one? Logan choked on his tea. Penelope closed her eyes, muttering something in French that sounded suspiciously like a prayer. Sophia grabbed a fork at random. Immediately, Penelope slammed her hand on the table. That is the fish fork. The salad fork is the smaller one on the outer left. Were you raised by wolves? Excuse me, Sophia said, offended, but if wolves knew how to use forks, they'd be way cooler. Penelope looked ready to quit her job. Logan? Now on his phone, recording. Day 10, the dance disaster, ballroom dancing. The one skill that required actual coordination, something Sophia had never possessed. Penelope enlisted a professional dance instructor for this session, and Logan, for reasons that still weren't clear, decided he would be Sophia's partner. Big mistake. The first time he guided her across the floor, she stepped on his foot so hard, he let out a sharp grunt. The second time she got distracted mid-step, lost her balance, and crashed directly into his chest. Logan caught her. For a moment, they were ridiculously close. And then Sophia, in true Sophia fashion, tried to play it cool. Wow, she breathed. Your cologne smells expensive. That's because it is, Logan replied dryly. And now it also smells like your shampoo. Sophia had face planted into his shoulder. Smooth. Day 15, the gala test run. The halfway mark of the bet meant Penelope wanted to test Sophia in a real-world scenario, a high-end corporate gala. Fancy dresses, champagne, no escape. Sophia tried. She really did. She practiced smiling politely, shaking hands with confidence, and even learned a few key phrases in French to impress the investors. Everything was going fine, until she tried to gracefully take a sip of champagne and accidentally knocked over an entire tray of hors d'oeuvres. The tray wobbled, a waiter stumbled, a domino effect began, and in less than 5 seconds, an entire table collapsed, sending food flying everywhere. Logan, watching from across the room, simply buried his face in his hands. Penelope looked ready to move to another country. Sophia, all she could say was, at least no one is on fire this time. Day 25, the final test. Sophia had one last chance to prove she had improved. Penelope had set up a mock dinner party, complete with investors, fancy wine, and a strict set of rules. Sophia sat up straight, used the correct fork, and even managed to walk without knocking over a chair. It was a miracle. Logan sat beside her, quietly watching, waiting for her to mess up. But for the first time, she didn't. Sophia sipped her wine, perfectly elegant. And then, would you like dessert? An executive asked. Sophia smiled. Yes, I'd love some mousse. Penelope paled. You mean mousse? Sophia's eyes widened. Logan burst into laughter. The spell was broken. Sophia face-planted into the table. The verdict? The next morning, Logan called her into his office. Well, she asked, bracing for humiliation. You failed, he said simply. Sophia groaned. I knew it. But, Logan smirked, sliding a takeout box across his desk. Sophia blinked. Pancakes. With a sticky note. You lost the bet, but you won the war. Breakfast is on me anyway. Her heart skipped. Wait, so you're still a disaster, but you're my disaster. Sophia blinked rapidly. Did Logan Carter just compliment her? She wasn't sure, but one thing was clear. She may have lost the bet, but she had won something much bigger. Logan Carter was a man of precision, control, and order. For years, his world had been carefully crafted. Perfect schedules, seamless business deals, and a reputation for being untouchable. And then Sofia Ramirez crashed into his life. Literally. At first, he thought she was just another disaster. An amusing one, sure, but temporary. Then she started following him to corporate events, and that's when he realized she was dangerous. Not dangerous in the way a rival CEO would be. Dangerous because she was changing things. Because when Sophia was around, things were never boring. The business dinner that changed everything. It was a high-profile business dinner, the kind where people sipped overpriced wine, exchanged polite conversations, and pretended to be far more civilized than they actually were. Sophia had been dragged along at the last minute, wearing a dress that looked suspiciously like it had been borrowed from her best friend Ava. "Are you sure I should be here?" she whispered as Logan led her inside the extravagant dining hall. Logan glanced at her. "Honestly? No." "Great," reassuring. She was determined to stay quiet, stay still, and not cause an international crisis. For 15 minutes, she did. Then the appetizers arrived. Sophia, being Sophia, reached for one without looking. The problem? She accidentally grabbed a napkin instead of the plate, which meant when she pulled her hand back, the entire tray of hors d'oeuvres flipped into her lap. Gasps echoed across the table. Someone choked on their wine. Sophia froze. Logan? Logan just sat back smirking. Without missing a beat, Sophia picked up one of the fallen appetizers, popped it in her mouth and shrugged. "Still delicious," she declared. The table erupted in laughter. Even the most serious investors couldn't hold back their smiles. Logan just shook his head, watching her. It should have been humiliating. It should have ruined the night. Instead, it was the best dinner he had been to in years. The auction night incident. A week later, Logan was forced to attend a high society auction. It was the kind of event that dripped with wealth and pretense, the kind of event that bored him out of his mind. So when he saw Sophia sneaking mini pastries into her purse, he wasn't even surprised. "You do realize we're at a charity event, not a buffet, right?" he murmured as she stuffed another tart into a napkin. She glared at him. "First of all, these are expensive. Second of all, I'm saving them for later. Third of all, mind your own business, Carter." Logan fought back a grin. Then the auction began, and somehow, Sophia accidentally placed a bid on an item. A very, very expensive item. The room fell silent. The auctioneer raised an eyebrow. "A bid of 50,000 from the lady in the red dress. Any other offers?" Sophia's soul left her body. "What?" she shrieked. "No, I was waving at someone." Too late. The auctioneer slammed the gavel. Sold. To Sophia for $50,000. She turned to Logan, panicked. "Fix it," she whispered, eyes wide. "Undo it. Reverse. Control Z." Logan, for once, didn't immediately step in to save her. Instead, he just leaned closer. "You're the one who raised your hand, sweetheart. I was waving at a waiter. Maybe next time, don't be so enthusiastic." She glared at him. And then, because she was Sophia, she stood up, faced the crowd, and grinned. "Well," she announced, "I guess I just made a very expensive mistake." The crowd laughed, and just like that, the tension was gone. Logan shook his head, watching her turn her disaster into something charming. Again. The realization he never saw coming, it wasn't one single moment that changed everything for Logan. It was all of them. The way she could mess up everything and still make people smile. The way she never pretended to be perfect. The way she made his world feel alive again. For so long, his life had been a routine. Deals, meetings, silence. Now he woke up wondering what ridiculous thing Sophia would do next. Now he found himself laughing more than he had in years. Now he couldn't imagine this company, this life without her. He wasn't supposed to fall for her. She was too chaotic, too impulsive, too much. But somehow she was exactly what he needed. And that terrified him. Because Logan Carter was used to controlling everything. And Sophia Ramirez, she was completely, beautifully uncontrollable. Sophia had survived a lot in her short time at Carter Enterprises. She had sent embarrassing emails, set off fire alarms, and accidentally bid 50,000 in an auction. But nothing could have prepared her for the moment she walked into work and saw her own face plastered across every gossip website in the city. Billionaire CEO Logan Carter caught in romantic scandal. Secret relationship with assistant? Sophia screamed internally. "What is happening?" she muttered, frantically scrolling through the article. Her hands shook as she read the ridiculous claims. Sources reveal that Carter Enterprises' untouchable CEO has finally been captured by none other than his own assistant, Sophia Ramirez. The two have been spotted at corporate events, sharing private moments, and even engaging in playful banter. Could this be love, or is Sophia just the latest in a line of temporary distractions for the billionaire? Sophia slammed her laptop shut. Her heart was pounding. She was going to get fired. For sure, this was a scandal, a full-blown career-ending disaster. Before she could even process her impending doom, her phone buzzed. Logan, my office now, she gulped. Dead. She was officially dead. With shaky hands, she opened his door. Logan was standing by the window, his back turned to her, his jaw tight. He was holding his phone, scrolling, his expression unreadable. She cleared her throat. So, how mad are we on a scale from mildly irritated to burn the whole company down? Logan turned around, and to her absolute shock, he wasn't mad. If anything, he looked amused. You read the article? He asked, his voice dangerously calm. She nodded furiously. I did. And I just want to clarify, I have never seduced a billionaire. Not even once, not even a little bit. I don't even know how one seduces a billionaire. Do I use coupons? A PowerPoint presentation? Logan exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair, and then he said something that nearly sent Sophia into cardiac arrest. Let's not deny it. Sophia froze. What? If we try to fight the story, it'll only make things worse, Logan explained, leaning casually against his desk. But if we play along, the media will lose interest faster. Sophia stared at him like he had just suggested they rob a bank together. You're saying we should pretend? She whispered. A month, Logan said, 4 weeks. We fake date, the media gets bored, and then we break up. Sophia gawked at him. This is the worst idea you've ever had. It? Logan smirked. Because it keeps the board happy. It calms the investors. And let's be honest, you're already the most chaotic part of my life. What's a little more? Sophia couldn't believe what she was hearing. Okay, but if I agree to this, she said, pointing a finger at him, we need rules. Logan crossed his arms. Rules? Yes, she huffed. Rule number 1, no weird, overly romantic gestures in public. Logan raised an eyebrow. I seem to recall you feeding me dessert at that charity dinner. That was an accident, she snapped. Rule number 2, no falling in love. Silence. Sophia immediately regretted saying it, because for the first time, Logan didn't smirk. He just looked at her. And for some reason, her stomach flipped. Fine, he said finally, his voice quieter than before. No falling in love. Famous last words. Their first date was a corporate gala. Sophia wore a red dress that Ava forced her into, one that actually fit her properly for once. Logan? Logan looked annoyingly perfect. Ready? He asked as they stood outside the entrance. Sophia took a deep breath. Let's get this over with, she muttered. The second they walked in, all eyes were on them. And then Logan did something unexpected. He reached for her hand, held it, not just for the cameras, not just for show, but as if it were natural. Sophia's breath hitched. You good? Logan whispered, leaning down slightly. Peachy, she lied. But in reality, she was in trouble. It was supposed to be fake. But then Logan started doing things that didn't feel fake, like remembering how she took her coffee, like pulling her closer when cameras were near, but keeping his hand on the small of her back even when they weren't, like laughing at her jokes when he thought no one else was listening. One afternoon, they were in his office, going over details for their next public outing. Sophia, absent-mindedly, pulled a fuzzy blanket off the couch and wrapped it around herself. Logan raised an eyebrow. Are you cold? I'm always cold, she muttered. And then, without a word, he took off his jacket and placed it over her shoulders. Just like that. No teasing, no smirking, just Logan being genuinely thoughtful. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. They were at a charity event pretending to be the perfect couple. Sophia had been laughing at something dumb, something small, and then Logan looked at her, really looked at her. The air shifted. His hand brushed against hers. She felt her pulse skyrocket. And then he leaned in, not dramatically, not for the cameras, but because for once, he forgot this wasn't real. Sophia felt her breath catch, her heart pounded, and just before his lips met hers, a flashbulb went off. A camera clicked. Reality crashed back down. Logan pulled away, clearing his throat. Sophia swallowed hard. They weren't supposed to cross the line, but they were already too close to the edge, and both of them knew it. Sophia never thought she'd find herself in a real-life telenovela. But here she was, standing in the middle of Carter Enterprises, face to face with Logan Carter's ex-fiancée, Ashley Montgomery, the woman who had once been meant to marry him, the woman who had left him at the altar, the woman who was now standing in the lobby, dressed like she had just walked off the cover of Vogue, looking at Sophia like she was something she had scraped off her designer heels. Ashley smiled, but it wasn't friendly. It was the kind of smile that said, "I'm about to ruin your life, sweetheart." "You must be Sophia," she said smoothly, pushing her oversized sunglasses to the top of her perfectly styled hair. Sophia blinked, clutching her morning coffee like a shield. "And you must be the ex everyone whispers about," she replied with an equally sweet smile. A few employees nearby gasped. Ashley's lips twitched, but she recovered quickly, stepping closer, her heels clicking sharply against the polished marble floor. "You're quite different from Logan's usual type," she said, her gaze sweeping over Sophia's slightly wrinkled blouse and mismatched earrings. Sophia shrugged. "Yeah, he told me he was done dating women who only care about their reflection." Ashley's eyes narrowed. Sophia smirked. Game. On. By the time Sophia reached her desk, her phone was already buzzing. A text from Ava. "Ava, you might want to check Instagram." Frowning, Sophia clicked on the app, and there it was. Ashley had just posted an old photo of her and Logan, taken back when they were still together, with a caption that sent a dagger straight through Sophia's chest. "Some connections never fade. Howesh, what was once ours, had some things are meant to be." Sophia stared at the screen, her stomach twisting. She wasn't jealous. Nope, not at all. Except, okay, maybe a little. But mostly she was angry. Because Ashley wasn't just posting old memories. She was sending a message. A message that said, "You don't belong here, little assistant. You're just a placeholder. He's mine, and you're nothing." Sophia's grip tightened on her phone. Oh, hell no. If Ashley wanted a social media war, she had picked the wrong opponent. Minutes later, Sophia uploaded her own post. A video of her and Logan. At his penthouse, sitting on his couch, sharing a milkshake with 2 straws. In the background, Ava's voice could be heard dramatically narrating, "Ah, young love. So pure, so chaotic, so full of lactose intolerance." Sophia had captioned it, "Some loves wear matching pajamas and steal each other's fries. Hatch too real, hash not just memories." And just like that, the internet exploded. Team Ashley versus Team Sophia was born. Fans dissected every post, every interaction, every look Logan had ever given either of them. Some sided with Ashley, claiming she was Logan's true love. But most fell in love with Sophia's humor, her authenticity, her ability to turn everything into a joke. And Logan did nothing to stop it. In fact, when an employee asked him about the social media battle, he just smirked and said, "I like watching her win." But Ashley wasn't done. She wasn't used to losing. So at the next Carter Enterprises charity event, she made her final move. Dressed in a stunning silver gown, she made sure to arrive late, right as Logan and Sophia were standing together looking comfortable, too comfortable. With a sly smile, she stepped forward, slid her arm around Logan's and said, "Oh, darling, I've missed you." Silence. Sophia felt her entire body tense. Logan did not look pleased. Ashley continued, ignoring the tension. "You know, Logan and I have such history. I always say some things are just meant to find their way back together." Then she turned her gaze to Sophia. "Don't you agree, Sophia?" Sophia stared at her. Then she grinned. "Of course," she chirped. Ashley blinked. "What?" Sophia stepped closer, looping her arm through Logan's other one, effectively trapping him between them. "Some things do find their way back together, like me and Logan's matching slippers. Oh, or the way he always picks out the olives from my salad because I hate them. And oh my gosh, his habit of making my coffee just right, even though I always mess up his tea." Ashley's smile faltered. Sophia turned to Logan, tilting her head. "Hey, Logan," she said sweetly. "Did Ashley ever steal all your hoodies, or is that just a me thing?" Logan, who had been watching the whole thing like it was his favorite movie, burst into laughter. And then in one single move, he wrapped his arm around Sophia's waist, pulled her close, and whispered loud enough for Ashley to hear, You're the only thing I want to find its way back to me. Sophia forgot how to breathe. Ashley's face burned red. She had lost. Sophia had won. And maybe, just maybe, this wasn't fake anymore. Who else thinks Logan is falling hard for Sophia? Comment below. Subscribe to see what happens next in this love story. Most Sophia never thought she'd walk away from Logan Carter. Not after everything. Not after the fake dating turned into something real. Not after the way he looked at her when Ashley tried to pull him back into her world, and he chose Sophia instead. But life had a way of twisting things, of making you question everything when you least expected it. And that's how, on a cold Monday morning, Sophia handed in her resignation letter. She didn't expect Logan to let her go so easily. She thought he would fight her on it, argue, convince her to stay, but he didn't. He just stared. For the first time, his walls were back up. The Logan who had spent weeks laughing at her disasters, teasing her about her ridiculous habits, making her feel like she was the best part of his day. That Logan was gone, and in his place was the untouchable CEO, the man who didn't beg, the man who didn't chase. Sophia felt her chest tighten. Maybe she had expected too much. Maybe she had hoped he would say something like, "Don't go. You belong here. I want you to stay." But he didn't. He simply picked up the envelope, his jaw tight, his expression unreadable, and said, "If that's what you want." That was it. No arguing, no dramatic speeches, just 5 words that somehow broke her heart. She turned before he could see the tears in her eyes. And just like that, she was gone. Sophia thought quitting would give her peace. It didn't. Instead, her world felt empty. She no longer woke up to Logan's sarcastic texts. No more accidental meetings in the elevator where he'd smirk and say, "Try not to cause a disaster today." No more arguing over breakfast choices. No more late-night work sessions where he'd bring her tea, even though he hated it. The first morning without Carter Enterprises felt off. She stayed in bed longer than usual, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince herself she had done the right thing. Ava called 3 times. Sophia ignored it. She didn't want to talk about it, because if she said it out loud, it would feel too real. She should have been relieved. Instead, she felt like she had left a piece of herself behind. And the worst part, Logan didn't call, didn't text, didn't try to find her. It was like she had never existed in his life at all. And that hurt more than she wanted to admit. Logan Carter was not okay, not that anyone could tell. On the outside, he was the same as always. Cold, efficient, ruthless in the boardroom. But inside, he was a mess. Every morning he walked past her empty desk and felt something sharp and hollow in his chest. Every time he opened his phone, he expected a sarcastic text from her. And when he didn't get one, the silence was deafening. His assistant, Eric, noticed the difference. "Sir, I don't want to hear it," Logan snapped, pushing back from his desk. Eric sighed. "You haven't smiled in a week." Logan didn't answer, because what was there to say? She was gone, and he had let her go. Maybe that was his mistake. Maybe he should have fought harder, but Logan Carter didn't chase. That wasn't who he was. Except he'd never missed someone like this before. He'd never spent his mornings staring at a coffee cup, remembering the way Sophia always made it too sweet, and the way he never complained. He'd never walked into his penthouse expecting to hear her voice teasing him about his ridiculously neat furniture. He'd never been this lost. And for the first time, Logan Carter realized maybe letting her go was the worst mistake of his life. 1 week after leaving Carter Enterprises, Sophia sat in a small cafe, staring at her untouched cup of coffee. She felt like a ghost. Ava sat across from her, watching her with concerned eyes. "You're miserable," Ava said bluntly. Sophia scoffed. "I'm fine. You haven't posted anything funny in a week. That's a crisis." Sophia sighed, rubbing her temples. I needed space," she admitted. "The lines got blurry. I couldn't tell if what we had was real or if I was just convenient." Ava frowned. "You think Logan would fake everything?" "I don't know," Sophia whispered. "That's the problem. She wanted to believe it was real. She wanted to believe that the way Logan looked at her, the way he laughed with her, the way he made her feel like she was the only person in the room. She wanted to believe it meant something, but she was too scared to ask, too scared to know the answer. Ava reached across the table, grabbing Sophia's hand. "You don't leave people you love," she said softly. "You fight for them." Sophia felt her throat tighten. "I don't know if he feels the same," she admitted. "Then ask," Ava challenged, "because right now, you're running from something that could be real." Sophia didn't answer, but for the first time in days, she realized something. She didn't want to run anymore. That night, Sophia stared at her phone for an hour before finally texting Logan. "Sophia, I miss you." She didn't expect a response, not right away. But 2 minutes later, her phone buzzed. "Logan, then why did you leave?" Sophia's heart clenched. Her fingers trembled as she typed back. "Sophia, because I was scared." Another buzz. "Logan, come back." She froze. Her breath caught, and for the first time in a long time, she smiled. Because maybe, just maybe, this wasn't over yet. Sophia had spent the past week avoiding her feelings, telling herself that leaving Carter Enterprises was the right decision. But if that were true, then why did she feel so hollow? Why did she keep staring at her phone, rereading Logan's last text? Why did she wake up every morning hoping, praying that he'd send another? She missed him, and she hated it. Because what if he didn't miss her back? But then the invitation arrived. A simple envelope slipped under her apartment door. Her name written in Logan's handwriting. Sophia's hands shook as she opened it. Inside, there was a single note. "Come to the Carter Enterprises annual gala. You owe me one last disaster. L." Her breath caught. She had been so sure that Logan would just move on, that he would bury himself in work, pretend she never existed, and let her be another forgettable part of his past. But this was a challenge, and Logan Carter didn't make challenges unless they mattered. Her heart pounded. For the first time since she had left, she felt something that almost resembled hope. Sophia stood in front of her mirror, staring at the dress Ava had forced her into. Deep blue, elegant, perfect. But something was missing. And then she grinned. She reached into her closet and pulled out the one thing that had started it all, her inside-out dress, the same one she had worn on the day she first met Logan, the one that had made him laugh, the one that had changed everything. And just like that, Sophia knew exactly what she had to do. The moment Sophia stepped into the ballroom, the entire room fell silent. Not because she was stunning, though she was, not because she had returned, though people had definitely noticed, but because she was wearing the wrong damn dress. Again, the inside-out seams, the tag sticking out, the unmistakable chaos that was Sophia Ramirez. Logan had been mid-speech when he saw her, and the second his eyes landed on her, he forgot how to breathe. For the man who prided himself on always being in control, he lost it completely. The microphone in his hand trembled. His carefully planned speech, gone. His polished, emotionless mask, shattered. Because for the first time in weeks, he was laughing. Real, full-body, helpless laughter. And for the first time since she left, he felt alive again. Sophia stopped in the middle of the ballroom, hands on her hips. She raised an eyebrow. "Something funny, Carter?" Logan grinned. "Yeah," he admitted, walking toward her. And then, in front of every single person in that room, he said, "You're the only person in the world who could make me love a disaster." Sophia's heart stopped. The whispers in the crowd grew louder. Was Logan Carter confessing in front of everyone? But Logan didn't care, not anymore. He had spent weeks pretending he was fine. He wasn't. He had spent days trying to move on. He couldn't. And now he was done running from this. He pulled something from his pocket, a small velvet box, and then he dropped to one knee. Sophia's entire body locked up. The room gasped. Ava, from somewhere in the crowd, squealed. And Logan, looking up at Sophia like she was the only person in the world, said, "You walked away once. I won't let you do it again." Sophia's throat tightened. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be real. But Logan just kept going. "I know you think we were just pretending, that this was just another game, but it never was, not for me." Sophia felt tears sting her eyes. "You are the most unpredictable, chaotic, incredible thing that has ever happened to me, and I don't want a single day without you." Logan took a deep breath. So if you promise to stay, and if you promise to keep turning my life upside down every single day, he opened the box. Inside a ring. Simple, elegant, perfect. Then marry me, Sophia. The room held its breath. Sophia held her breath. This was it. The moment. The one she never thought she'd have. And suddenly, she knew the answer. Sophia took a shaky breath. Then she crouched down, grabbed Logan's tie, and yanked him into a kiss. The room exploded. Applause, cheers, Ava screaming louder than anyone. Logan smiled against her lips. I take that as a yes? Sophia grinned. You take that as a shut up, you already had me at hello. Logan laughed. Sophia laughed. And just like that, the hurricane and the CEO finally got their happily ever after. Sophia never thought she'd be the kind of person to have a fairy tale wedding. She'd always imagined herself as the girl who would probably trip walking down the aisle, spill champagne on her dress, or accidentally set something on fire. And true to form, on the day she was set to marry Logan Carter, the once untouchable billionaire CEO who had somehow become the love of her life, everything that could go wrong did, because of course it did. It started with the cake, a 7-tier masterpiece that was supposed to be the highlight of the reception. The problem? Sophia's best friend, Ava, who had somehow been put in charge of the dessert table, had decided that the cake needed to be moved for better lighting. One wrong step. One sudden slip, and down it went. The cake, glorious, beautiful, hours of meticulous design, collapsed to the floor in a tragic frosting-covered disaster. Gasps echoed through the venue. People froze. Sophia stood in her bridal robe, hair half done, staring at the mess like her soul had left her body. Ava, covered in buttercream, whispered, "Oh, I can fix it." Sophia took a slow, deep breath, and then she burst into laughter. Not the soft, elegant kind. Not the refined, delicate sound that a proper bride would make. No, loud, full-body, uncontrollable laughter. Because honestly, this was exactly how her wedding day was supposed to go. The room, once tense with horror, erupted into laughter as well. And in that moment, Sophia realized something important. It didn't matter. The cake, the decorations, the so-called perfection. None of it mattered. She was marrying Logan. The man who had once been impossibly cold, but now couldn't go a day without teasing her. The man who hated social media, but now took ridiculous selfies with her just because she liked it. The man who had once believed that love was a weakness, but had somehow found himself on one knee, asking her to be his forever. That was what mattered. So, cake or no cake, this wedding was still going to be perfect, or, at the very least, perfectly imperfect. If the cake disaster was the first warning sign, the dress disaster was the full confirmation that fate was playing a very cruel joke. Sophia had spent months finding the perfect gown. It was stunning, classic yet modern, elegant yet comfortable, and most importantly, it was not inside out. At least, it wasn't supposed to be. But when Sophia went to put it on, the zipper broke, as in completely refused to zip. As in the wedding coordinator audibly gasped when she saw it. "Sophia," Ava whispered, slowly backing away. "Don't panic." Sophia, absolutely panicking, grabbed the nearest safety pin, then another, then about 50 more, haphazardly securing the fabric in a way that could only be described as creative survival. Did it look Pinterest-worthy? No. Did it stay together long enough for her to walk down the aisle? Barely. But honestly, it just fit the theme of her entire existence. When she finally stepped into the ceremony, Logan took one look at her, his lips twitching. "You're holding your dress together with office supplies," he murmured as she reached him. Sophia grinned. "I'm nothing if not resourceful." And just like that, he laughed. Full, genuine, real. And in that moment, Sophia knew she would never love anyone the way she loved him. The officiant was halfway through the vows when Sophia, in the middle of Logan's heartfelt speech about why he loved her, suddenly sneezed. Not just a little sneeze. A full, earth-shaking, unexpected, uncontrollable sneeze. The microphone picked up everything. Logan, to his credit, didn't even try to hold back his laughter. The guests dying, the officiant absolutely defeated. But Sophia? Sophia just wiped her nose, cleared her throat, and said, "Sorry, continue." Logan shook his head, still grinning like she was the best thing that had ever happened to him. And maybe, just maybe, she was. By the time the reception started, everything that could have gone wrong had already gone wrong. The DJ accidentally played the wrong song for their first dance. So instead of a soft romantic ballad, they slow danced to a dramatic action movie soundtrack. The flower girl, Logan's 5-year-old niece, tripped and sent petals flying directly into the wedding cake replacement. The lights flickered twice because someone plugged too many things into one outlet. And yet, it was perfect. Because Logan, despite his carefully planned life, despite his once serious demeanor, was laughing harder than Sophia had ever seen. Because even when the music was wrong, he still pulled her close and swayed with her like nothing else mattered. Because even when the cake was destroyed, they still fed each other messy bites of frosting, wiping it off each other's faces with zero dignity. Because even when things were falling apart, they had each other. And in the end, that was all they really needed. Sophia's wedding wasn't flawless. It wasn't the kind of event that would be featured in magazines or used as inspiration on wedding blogs. It was loud, messy, filled with disasters, but it was the best day of her life. Because love, real love, isn't about having the perfect dress, the perfect cake, or the perfect venue. It's about laughing through the chaos. It's about finding joy in the disasters. It's about choosing each other over and over again, no matter how many things go wrong. And as Sophia and Logan collapsed onto the dance floor at the end of the night, her dress barely holding together, his tie loosened, their cheeks aching from laughing so much. She knew they were always meant to be, not in a polished fairy tale kind of way, not in a perfect scripted romance, but in their way, beautifully, chaotically, imperfectly together, forever. Perfection is overrated. Real love is about embracing each other's flaws. Life will never go as planned, so learn to laugh through the chaos. Sometimes the most unexpected moments become the best memories. The right person will love you for exactly who you are, even in your messiest moments. Never be afraid to fight for what you love, even if it means risking everything. Like this post if you believe real love is perfectly imperfect. Subscribe to follow more love stories that make you laugh, cry, and believe in happy endings.